Okay, so I haven't done this yet. So I decided I would take this morning to get this narrative read out loud. What I'm about to read is attachment A of a application for a warrant to search a property, my property. It's the Iowa case number SWSW000570, dated August 10th, 2021, 2 p.m. Your applicant conducted an investigation and received information from other officers and other sources as follows. On 7/19/2021, I, Deputy McKinney, a peace officer in and for Calhoun County, was contacted at around 6 p.m. by dispatch that a male subject in Farnhamville wanted to talk to me regarding possible drug usage at the home of his stepchildren's father outside of Richards, Iowa. I arrived at the home of C and H W at 625 H Avenue in Farmville at approximately 8:22 p.m. There, C and A told me their minor son, J, had been at his biological father's house the prior week for mutually agreed upon visitation. Upon doing laundry after his return, A located a small baggie in the front pants pocket of J's jeans. These are jeans he wore to his father's house the prior week. The jeans had already been washed, but upon seeing the small zip-top baggie C and A handed me, I immediately recognized through my training and experience this type of baggie is used for the storing and distribution of illegal drugs. Okay, so these individuals call the sheriff's department and say that they are suspicious of possible drug usage at my house based upon, as they say, this small zip-top baggie, which had nothing in it. It was completely empty. There was no residue. It was just a clean, small bag. Okay? Nothing illegal about a bag whatsoever in any state. Upon questioning Jay, he stated he found the bag empty. Okay, right there. Let's go with that. Upon questioning Jay, he stated he found the bag empty on the floor of his father's pickup truck. He also stated that right next to the empty baggie was a full baggie of what Jay describes as salt. Okay? So here it is. The baggie that was found, when he found it, according to my son, was empty. So this whole time, before this baggie got washed, and after the baggie got washed, supposedly, the bag was empty in both instances. Okay? Through my training and experience, I know that methamphetamine and other drugs stored in small plastic baggies may look like salt to a child. Jay's biological father is Anthony Castle, who lives at my address. Several vehicles are listed as being registered to Anthony Castle. The Calhoun County Assessor's Office maintains a listing of the property as belonging to Anthony Castle. There are several structures on the property. Through my training, experience, and education as a law enforcement officer, I know that small baggies of illegal drugs can be located in any area small enough to conceal them. This could include many areas inside of vehicles or buildings. Okay? So, what do we have so far here? Empty Ziploc baggie was supposedly found in my child's pants. The baggie was empty when it was supposedly found. And according to my son, the baggie was empty when he grabbed the bag. So at what point there are there questions of drugs? Just the empty bag? Okay. This officer, Jason McKinney, applied for and received a signed warrant from a judge to raid my house. They raided my house the very evening, about 9:30. I was not home. Myself and my youngest daughter at the time were in northern Iowa picking up a car. My wife was home when they executed this raid. My wife was sitting on the couch doing her baby registry because she was 6 months pregnant when the entire sheriff's department, every single employee with the sheriff's department was at my house for this empty bag. And so they put my wife through 2 hours of making her sit on our steps outside our house. The Jason McKinney, as soon as he walked up to my wife, snatched her phone out of her hand, stating he didn't want her to call me to let me know that they were there. She was never read her rights at any point. They never said she was detained at any point. However, this officer took her phone out of her hand, wouldn't allow her to have it. As well as they had a female officer who was babysitting my wife the entire time. My wife had to go to the restroom. This officer, female officer, went with her to the restroom to go piss. It's disgusting. It's totally disgusting. And the fact that this officer at the time of 13 years as a Calhoun County Sheriff's Deputy, 13 years worth of experience, told him that an empty bag found supposedly in a kid's pant pocket. Well, that was probable cause enough to get a warrant to raid somebody's entire property. My shop, my house, every inch of my house they looked. My shop, we have 2 acres out here. And I do have multiple vehicles. They looked everywhere. Everywhere. And what come from that entire search of my entire property was what they claimed were paraphernalia smoking devices, which I could explain that in a minute. Also, they claimed they found a bag of what appeared to look like and tested positive for methamphetamine. It said that it was a brown. It actually said it was a brown substance, which, you know, I'm no expert on the subject, but last I knew, meth wasn't brown. Maybe that's really on. I never have been able to ask the question, nor have I gotten any answers on any of this shit. However, they field tested it, and it tested positive, is what they said. Now, like I said, I wasn't here, so I never got to see anything they took. My wife never got to see anything they took. They said they took, I think it was 8 or 10, what they called smoking devices. And they took them, I believe, what I believe they took were test tubes or beakers because I refine gold and silver, other precious metals, out of either scrap jewelry or old electronics, and I get a huge lab setup for that. And I think they took materials and devices, as they said, that were used for my refining. Now, I don't know what the brown substance that tested positive for meth or field tested positive for meth were, but I don't really care, honestly, at this point. Either way, they charged me then, because of this, with 1 count of possession of methamphetamine and 1 count of paraphernalia. And so just those 2 charges, 1 for possession, 1 for paraphernalia, which I obviously fought, and the judge threw out all the evidence that they collected from that evening when we went to court, because they got any evidence they did get, the judge ruled from the bench, was obviously unconstitutional. This warrant was not, there had no probable cause, as my lawyer said, and he's also a magistrate judge. He also said to the district judge, he said, this doesn't, nothing in there, nothing in this about an empty bag would constitute probable cause, let alone even a mere suspicion of a crime. They didn't have anything. They nothing about an empty bag is illegal. You can go buy them at Hobby Lobby. You can go, think of all the pins and jewelry and all this other shit you get with with little baggies. Hell, brand new coats usually have a extra button in a little Ziploc baggie on the inside of them. They're everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. There's nothing about them that makes them illegal at all. But not according to this 13-year veteran of the Calhoun County Sheriff's Department. Because in 13 years, what he's learned through his experience and training is that empty baggies now, that implicates methamphetamine. Not even, he's specific what it was. The salt. I ended up asking my son a couple months after this, because of course after this was all done, this was called in by the other household of my children, and so that sparked obviously a custody battle. We had a verbal agreement for the prior 8 years. We'd had the same verbal agreement, 50-50 custody for that entire time, up until this point. But anyway, I did end up asking my son later on where he found that baggie that they claim he said he found in my truck. And when I asked him that, he took a minute, and when I kind of pressed him for an answer, he said, "I just said something." And I said, "Well, what do you mean, buddy? What do you mean you just said something?" He said, "I just said something." Apparently the stepdad was essentially screaming at him, yelling at him, telling him to tell him where he found this baggie that was in his pants. And my son said to me, he said, "I didn't know where it came from. I didn't even know I had it." So you take that for what you will. My son claimed he never had any baggie in his pants from my house, from my truck, from anywhere. So where'd the baggie come from? What's the source of the baggie to begin with? Only really imaginations can tell, because I don't have that answer. Neither did my son. But I have my guesses as to where that baggie actually was materialized. But anyway, I figured I would get that verbally said out loud to kind of get my story told a little bit. And here's the command log from the Sheriff's Department. Now, let's see. Would that make sense? Let's see. It said this was filed here. Okay, so that was there. That was a different day. All right. So anyway, so 7/19/21. That's when this application for this warrant was written. This is 7/19/21 at 17:58. A new CFS. 7/19/21. 17:59. Meth found in the pocket of a child. This is on the command log from the dispatch. The deputy. Or this is the deputy's command log, rather. So this would be his back and forth with dispatch. Okay, 11:59. 13:05 dispatched. 18:22. 13:05 on scene. 18:48. 28 or 27:28S and CCH for Castle Anthony. 18:58. 13:05 en route courthouse waiting for DHS callback. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Not just a custody thing, not just being charged with bullshit charges. Of course, then DHS got involved with my family as well. And we all know how uncorrupt those entire people are, right? Disgusting. Anyway. So, yeah. That my charges did end up getting thrown out. They got dismissed as soon as they, because like I said, they didn't have probable cause to get a warrant for my house. But I would just like to point out this Deputy McKinney, okay, 13 years of experience, this guy, right? Blah, 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 blah. Small baggie in front pants of Jay's jeans. Those were jeans he wore to his father's house the prior week. So, you can go by that story. Jeans he wore the week prior, which this was middle of July, people. My son wasn't wearing jeans in July. I can promise you that. I know exactly what he was wearing. He was wearing basketball shorts. Meh. Potato, right? Huh. I immediately recognized, through my training and experience, this type of baggie is used for storing and distribution of illegal drugs. Doesn't that seem like kind of a reach? You find an empty bag anywhere. Is your first thought, I know what it is, it's meth! Like, empty bag, oh, that's a meth bag. What? What in the hell? Are you on meth? Like, that's crazy. That's just crazy to me. So, he knew, this officer knew fully well this bag was empty. Even knowing this bag that he just had received, they gave it to him, was empty. Had no traces of drugs in it, not even a little bit. He had this empty bag and said, you know what? This implicates him. This is enough to get a fucking search warrant for this guy's property. What? Seriously? It seems like a reach, doesn't it? And I don't think that's negligence. Honestly, I don't think it was an accident. He knew, this cop knew the bag was empty. There was no drugs in his possession or anybody's possession from my fucking house. He knew this. And yet, still, the entire sheriff's department, every able-bodied officer that they employ, was at my house that night, giving my wife freaking anxiety and making her, like, she has PTSD over that entire situation. It's bullshit. It's sickening and it's bullshit. Anyway, that's all I'll rant about on that at this time. Thanks for listening.